I never thought I'd make one of these videos. There seems to be this like thing that I'm seeing it reoccurring by larger YouTube channels once they start talking about instant photography. And every time I watch those videos, I get a little frustrated, and it doesn't have anything to do with personally to the creator when they make these these videos. I'm sure they just wanted to make a video to share with their audience. I know I've been guilty of it in the past on various things, but it's just like anything that you do. Once you practice something long enough, you start to learn things and you gain experience. You learn things along the way. Yesterday, I was watching a video by somebody that I'd never seen before. It is Thomas. Don't remember his last name, but he did a video on instant photography, and it really struck me hard. And I watched it, and I actually recorded myself watching it and wanted to share some of it with you, but I wanted to at least wait a day because I was a little harsh at times, so I do apologize for that, and I'll share some of it.
So long-term viewers of this channel will know that I like to mix it up with my cameras, whether it's my Fuji GFX50R or more recently, a Nikon Z7 II, could be a Fuji X-T4, or it could be a dedicated infrared Fuji X-T3. Not to mention all of my film cameras, 4x5 film camera, not forget the Hasselblad 501cm, and Big Bertha, the panoramic Fuji GX617.
So, tens of thousands of dollars for cameras.
So how can we strip it back? How can we strip photography back even more than shooting a film camera, something like this medium format Hasselblad?
Did he just say that shooting on a Hasselblad is stripping it back? If you think that's stripping it back, you are gonna hate instant photography. One of the things I used to say, and I kind of not necessarily regret saying it, but the logic is there, is that I really hope that larger YouTube channels started making content around instant photography, because it would help the community by bringing more awareness to what we like to do. But now I'm starting to have that mindset changed in the sense that it's actually hurting the instant photography community. Thomas, again, I have no idea the type of content he makes. I'm assuming it's photography related just based on that video alone and the stuff he was talking about. But in his video and in the title of the video, it just makes people discouraged from shooting instant photography. And all his complaints in the video were really about how bad the photos came out, but he never asked the question, maybe it's user error. He posed the question kind of in the beginning, but never really addressed it after that. By the end of it, he was saying how bad camera is, and then quickly changes it to, it's really fun to shoot though. The experience of it's fun, but the results are just not the best. There's so much transitional B-roll in this.
As much as I would love to make some fantastic images with this camera, unfortunately it's not working out that way at all. And I am, for now at least, entirely blaming the camera.
Well, I would strongly disagree with that statement. Hang on. This is the one he's using. It does have some quirks, but the real main quirk of it is just the viewfinder. It's a little hard to frame things up, but you can get some killer shots with this.
They don't come out how you expect them to come out, and I still haven't quite figured it out. I'm sure there is some method in the madness, but man, the amount of shots I've messed up because my friend...
He just said he hasn't quite figured it out yet, but he's making a video about this camera. That's frustrating for me, especially as a reviewer and content creator, as well as an instant photography mostly dedicated channel. When I do reviews, I test them out fully before I just start bashing a product, or I may not even make a video at all, unless it's dire to our community and it needs to be said. It really comes down to knowing how to shoot instant photography. It's not the same as shooting digital photography. Entirely different thing. It's called experience, and experience on anything, once you use it more, you start learning how to do it, and you know how to do it the proper way. He may be the greatest photographer in the world, but once you get an instant photography camera in your hand, it acts completely different than anything else you'll ever shoot. Because the principles are not quite the same. You can't just point the camera at something, take the picture, and you're gonna get the thing that you see. It doesn't quite work that way. There's a lot of other factors that goes into it. One of them being, you might just have to walk away and not shoot that photo because the situation isn't correct. In that video, he was shooting with the lomography Instax Square. I get the camera complaints. Every camera is not right for everybody else. This camera is fun to use, but there is a small learning curve, and only due to the viewfinder, but not that difficult. He's also shooting on a cloudy day, and I would not recommend shooting instant photography on a cloudy day. Unless he's using that black and white photos. He hasn't shown any photos yet, so I don't know. It would definitely compensate for the overcast and probably yield a pretty cool silhouette shot, definitely. But again, he has not shown a single photo yet, so I don't know.
So if you do manage to nail your focus and perfectly frame your composition using the viewfinder, you're still kind of at the mercy of the camera. The camera's metering system is here. So it's metering the ambient light from where you're shooting and not your subject. That's like checking the temperature of the swimming pool by dipping your toe in the sink. Now there is
oh my God, okay. I have no idea how I'm gonna edit this together, so I've probably said this 100 times already. This is an instant photography camera. This is not a professional camera. This doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It is what he is describing as a stripped down, more of a challenge camera that he wanted to get away from shooting all of the complicatedness of it. It's supposed to be a more relaxing experience, but yet there's so much criticism over minute things on this thing that contradict his original statement. It's instant photography. And yes, the meter on the camera is located right here. You have to pay attention to the environment. You don't get high dynamic range with instant photos. It's not going to happen. You only get two exposing options. You either expose for the highlights or the shadows. And you have to pay attention to where the sun or the main light source of what you're trying to shoot is located. Typically, you want it right behind you. You don't want to shoot into it.
Now, of course, you can wait 5 or 10 minutes, check your Polaroid or your Instax, and then you can see if it's over or underexposed and then reshoot. But the thing with this camera...
No. Instax will develop within a minute. You can see if your shot is overexposed or underexposed within a minute or less. It will fully, completely develop in maybe 5 minutes, as he said, but not... You'll be able to tell before then if it's overexposed or underexposed. But if he's shooting black and white's even faster. But I don't know. We are 7.5 minutes into this video. He's yet to show a single photo, so I don't know if he's shooting in black and white or color.
So as I mentioned before, which is one of the most important things, this camera is incredibly good fun, and that's important with your photography, to get out there, have fun, experiment, try new things, get creative, and just have a laugh with it, really, with no expectations. So that's, that's the main reason for getting this.
This whole video so far, we are nearly 9 minutes into the video, has just been criticizing this thing and basically saying how bad shooting instant photography is, but now he's changed his tune to, it's really fun, guys. Get out there, be creative. I just didn't feel it was a fair representation of what instant photography is and what it could be or can be in Thomas's video. I just don't think it's fair to compare how instant photography is and this being a bad product or bad camera or bad experience, because it really comes down to your experience and you knowing how to shoot instant photography. Again, Thomas has probably great experience, but in that video, he was comparing all those really high-end, expensive cameras. I mean, literally, he's showing his Hasselblad camera. He's kind of really comparing the results to what he normally would get from all those other types of cameras. He was complaining how soft the pictures were. This actually has a glass lens, by the way, and that was never mentioned in the video. You get sharp photos. Check these out. So just some photos here out of the bin. I just want to show, like, these are just night and day in comparison to what Thomas was showing us. This is Callie. She works at Livestream Pros with me. They're one of my clients. Here's landscape shot of New York City. Landscapes, like I said, on instant photography, they're just not great. They just don't translate well on instant photography. Not that you can't get some cool ones, but it's just kind of underwhelming of a shot. It's just, there's the landscape. It's very, very small on a very small, frame. Crispy, beautiful shot. It was actually a sunny day, but there was a cloud rolling in, and you can kind of see some blue over in the top right corner, barely peeking over. But super tack sharp photo. Another great one. This one is of I can't believe I got this one. I waited for a plane to take off. It's sharp, it's great colors, it's saturated. Here's Mount Hood. This is from an airplane. I was traveling somewhere. Here's another great example of sun position. This sign was in direct sunlight. And then in that case, you underexpose. And that way you get the subject in proper exposure and the sky in proper exposure. If I were to shoot this normally, the sign would have been probably okay, but the sky would have been overexposed. You want to compensate for that and just by underexposing your shot by the one stop. Here's another shot from the airplane. Beautiful. This was also underexposed by one stop. Now, is every single photo I've ever taken good? No. Every now and then you'll get one that's messed up. But once you learn how to take the photos, those diminish quickly. But it doesn't come down to the camera itself. Not always. But overall, the same principle is in effect across all instant photography.
So I've had this camera for quite some time, and I thought now I was ready to make this video. So.
Oh, wait, what? Go back. What are you saying?
The other images I've taken. So I've had this camera for quite some time, and I thought now I was ready.
So you've had it for a while?
So,
if you had a camera for a while, you should know how to operate it a little bit better, right?
I've got about one image. Now let me show you something. So I've been shooting with this camera for quite some time, and this is my stack.
What? You've been shooting for quite some time, and that's it? That's like 2 boxes, man.
Oh, not great. You can see the difference in thickness there.
Dude, bro, man. I've got more than that just sitting in right here. I know, I'm being a little harsh. I know I'm being a little harsh on that. He's not a dedicated, instant photography channel. Mine's kind of turned into that. I am aware. Oh, we have a photo. We see one officially. Nearly 14 minutes in. And it looks like he was shooting black and white. Okay.
Generally, I didn't like the composition, but most of the time it's camera related. This one is overexposed quite a bit.
It's not camera related.
It's impossible to...
It's probably your lighting source. He's probably shooting the same way that he would be typically shooting his digital photography. The reason that it was probably overexposed is the camera actually was trying to shut the shutter down, but the light source could have been directly in front of it and to cause it to wash out. I wasn't there. I am speculating, of course. The chances are it probably wasn't the camera.
Really like this shot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The lone figure crossing a zebra crossing in the mist. And I have to say that when you get one of these successes, it feels great. It really does. So let's look at the images, although a very thin pile. Let's have a look at these and see why they've worked, or at least why I think they've worked.
You can't even scan them in. Sorry, that's just critical. I'm sorry. But you are a photographer. Why wouldn't you scan these in?
Successful image from the shoot of those dead trees in that swampy area.
That's a good shot.
I quite like this image is the exposure is perfect. You might not be able to tell from this video.
Well, that's where you would scan them in so we could see them. But he's using the black and white. That is a great use of film to use in overcast conditions, because you can actually still see some of the clouds, the makeout of the clouds a little bit. There's some texture there. And if you're shooting with color film, my experience in overcast like that, it's just going to wash out and just be completely white.
Successes with this camera, the lomography square. Now, admittedly, yeah, most of them are just absolute tosh.
This is going to be harsh, but I'm going to say it. That's your error. That's you. You did that. That's your fault. That's not the camera's fault. What is even this video? So instead of just bashing the video, which was starting to happen in the reaction video that I did yesterday, I wanted to take a day. I want to provide some value and maybe some assistance to Thomas. And I would say don't start with this camera. But also, you didn't mention this, and I don't even know if you know this, but there's a remote hidden right here. But I wouldn't start with this camera. I don't know if you have any other ones that you never mentioned it, never showed any. So this camera is fun and actually extremely rare these days. You were saying how cheap they are, but they're actually not cheap. When they do go up for sale, they're going to be several $100s just to get one. Yes, I guess that would be technically cheap in the grand scheme of the other cameras that you are kind of sort of unofficially comparing this to. You know what I would do for you? Specifically, if you happen to see this video, I don't really recommend this camera just to anybody. But since you are on the higher professional level and you are wanting all the bells and whistles, I'd go with the Polaroid. This is Polaroid's flagship camera, the SLR 680. Mine's in kind of rough condition. It needs some love. But that's due to the fact that these are very, very rare cameras, and when you do find one, you're gonna pay a lot of money for them. But from the grand scheme of everything, this would probably still fall under your categorization as a cheap camera. This will run you anywhere from $400 to $800, roughly, depending on condition and all of that stuff. But this is an SLR camera, which means you look through the viewfinder and you are going to see exactly the framing and exactly the photo that you're going to get. It also features autofocus, so you don't have to worry about your framing distance and all that stuff. It has autofocus via sonar, and it has a built-in flash, so you can shoot it indoors, outdoors, whatever you need. It has you covered. It also shoots Polaroid 600 film, so it has everything you could possibly want, and it's sort of compact in the sense that you can fold it up. It's, you know, still quite large, but it folds up and does fit in a camera bag. It does have a glass lens, by the way. Now, here's one extra one for you. If I don't own it personally, but if you want to stay on the Fuji side of things, check out the Mint RF70. Full manual camera. It shoots Instax wide film, glass lens. It folds up. It's a little bit more compact than this guy. No autofocus though, but it does have an actual rangefinder like the old pack film cameras did, like the Polaroid 250, where it has the ghosting, lines up. It does have that, and it will run you about $1,000. So there you go. Those are the two cameras I would recommend to you, and you'll have a much better experience than you would with the lomography camera. Not that this is a bad camera. For anyone watching this, this is not a bad camera. I also don't know how much of that reaction video I'm even including in this video, but I was a little harsh. I really don't want to offend anybody or cause any sort of, you know, problems or not, but when I saw this, I just felt I needed to speak up about it, because I see it all the time with a lot of bigger YouTube channels where they've never shot with instant photos before, and they get it and they were going to do a review of this camera and they shoot some photos and they always look like complete garbage. And people see the results and be like, that sucks. I'm not gonna spend $20 on a pack of film and get those results. I just pull my phone out and they'll look way better. I know I've said this a couple of times, but it really comes down to experience. If you spend enough time on something, you're gonna become a professional. I've never been one to really call myself a professional, but I have a studio, I have a business, I do this for a living, I do YouTube, I have clients, I'm kind of professional. And when it comes to instant photography, that's really what this YouTube channel is focused on. I do a lot of other retro type things on here, like VHS stuff, that's always super fun, and other things. But instant photography is really what's taken over this channel, and I've been doing that for the last close to 3 years, two and a half, so something like that, on instant photography. And I put out about 3 to 4 videos a month on the topic, and I've shot quite a bit of photos. And I've put these cameras through their paces, and so coming from your video and watching it and hearing your complaints about the craft, it's very frustrating, because I don't want people to get discouraged from going out and buying these cameras and getting involved with this community, even at just a, you know, hobbyist level, enthusiasts. So if they love it, they're gonna spend their money on film and on cameras and Polaroid and Fuji and lomography and Mint and any new companies that are rising up. There are a few, actually. Those people will succeed and will have this community grow and grow and grow. So hopefully this video has shown you some of the results you can actually get with instant photography, but more specifically with the same exact camera that Thomas was using. You just have to understand though, that instant photography is something that you do have to think a little bit more of before you take your picture. What time of day it is, how the lighting condition is, temperature. If you're shooting Polaroid, if it's too hot, yeah, you can alter the image development and the chemistry. But I've even done videos on how to compensate for both. Links in the description. Things like that, which you normally wouldn't have to think about when you are shooting with digital cameras or your phone even. If you get a photo and you don't like it, I really hope that that doesn't discourage you from continuing to try. Don't assume it's the camera, because typically 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be the user. So I guess I'm really just saying is, don't let one person's opinion on one particular thing convince you of that's just how it is. Do research. If you're really into something, find some more research and compare all of your findings and take that middle ground, you know? Find that medium. I know this is kind of a tangent video. This is unlike anything I have ever made. I'm gonna wrap this up because I could go on forever. Maybe I should make a masterclass on instant photography. I have thought about it. Maybe I'll actually do it, because I think there is a good benefit for that. And I don't know if there's really any out there. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped. I'll see you in the next video. Now, get out there, make some art.